You are now listening to the Motown Sports Talk podcast. Here's your hosts, Jordan and Dalton.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, December 8th, 2020, and it's been about a week since our last update, and that's my fault due to my negligence. We had an episode ready to go up. It was almost done being edited about midweek last week. We had a lot to talk about, and the file ended up getting corrupted, so that's my bad. We didn't get it by time I realized that we didn't get a chance to re-record or anything, but we're back today. We're better. I apologize. I will learn from my mistakes, and we have another huge win by the Lions over the Bears. After the firings of Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn last week, the Lions came out and took the Bears down. We won 34-30, and they looked amazing in the second half, something we've never seen under Patricia. We've seen them look good in the first half and then fold in the second half, but we looked terrible in the first half, and then we actually made second half adjustments, and we improved in the second half for, I think, the first time all season.
And OKAWRA came out and said that a lot of it was they were trying a bunch of new stuff on defense. So obviously, like, you're just randomly, hey, we're gonna try all this. The defense is, oh crap. It was kind of hard for them to adjust at first, but as you get more and more reps under it and understanding and everything, then you start getting better with it, and that's when the defense starts stepping up and playing like a good defense, like they should have been under Patricia.
Mm-hmm.
They were playing 57% zone coverage.
Oh yes, sorry.
In this game,
yeah,
which
well
is way up because all season they've played 41%, I believe the stat said, of zone coverage. So way different than Patricia's.
Yeah, it's way different. Like I said, I think Corey Underlin, which a lot of people are already calling for Corey Underlin's head, but I think, again, give him time. This is still his first year as a defensive coordinator. I think some people forget about that, so it's not like he's necessarily a veteran and knows exactly what he's doing. He's still trying to figure out his first season, too, and now he's even thrust into probably a bigger role than he had before when Patricia was probably doing, I wouldn't say all of it, but probably majority of the play calling. Like you said, hopefully we'll see the defense improve, and hopefully we'll have a lot of guys back next week. Hopefully Trey Flowers will be back. Austin Bryant and Deshaun Hand, I'm not sure exactly why they were out this week if they have significant injuries, but hopefully they can be back next week. Same with Okudah. His shoulder apparently seems to be worse than a lot of people thought. We thought he wouldn't even miss any games, but now he's missed 2. So hopefully if Okudah can come back, OKAWRA looked really good. Allen Robinson only had 1 catch in the entire second half for 4 yards, and that was, I'm pretty sure OKAWRA was shadowing him most of the game.
OKAWRA has stepped up like we've talked about multiple times this past episodes. OKAWRA has played great this season.
He's been one of our most consistent players on defense.
I will say he has done mistakes, which obviously he will. He's a second-year corner that's just starting this year, like didn't play that much last year. So obviously you're going to see mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. It's just the way it goes. But as he continues, he should start developing more and being better and not having those simple mistakes and getting beat easy and being able to go up against the league's top receivers and not fear it.
Well, that's when you're a cornerback or a quarterback, those are 2 plays that almost every time the ball is either coming around you. If you're shadowing a top wide receiver, most of the time you're going to be targeted a lot unless you're an elite cornerback. So cornerbacks are always going to have mistakes. They're never going to be perfect. Even the elite cornerbacks still have issues. Same thing with quarterbacks. You see some of the elite ones have bad games. Aaron Rodgers isn't perfect all the time. Mahomes isn't perfect all the time. Everyone's got bad games. But again, OKAWRA has been probably the most consistent player on defense, on this bad defense this year. And
I think ROMEO OKAWRA.
Yes, that's another person that I wanted to get into.
I was going to say, ROMEO OKAWRA and OKAWRA, I think, are our best 2 defensive players this year.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone was expecting that. We thought ROMEO OKAWRA was going to have a big bounce back year after having kind of a down year, but he showed what he could do, and he earned an extension with the Lions 2 years ago, and so I'm hoping that we can extend him again after this year. So yeah, this year ROMEO OKAWRA already has 7 sacks, 25 solo tackles, 36 combined, 8 tackles for loss, 15 quarterback hits, and 2 forced fumbles, and one of those was recovered as well. So this is already almost topping his, like I said, his breakout season in 2018, where he only had 7.5 sacks and 14 quarterback hits. So he only needs 1 more sack to break that, and we have 4 more games left, so I think it's very possible that he's going to have a career year this year. He already is. Say also, Everson Griffin has been playing really good too, so once Trey Flowers comes back, I think our defensive line is actually going to be really improved. Hopefully, we're really going to need it next week against Aaron Rodgers and that really good offensive line that they have.
At least Deshaun Hand needs to come back next week.
Yeah, obviously Danny Shelton's on IR, and I think that was one of the reasons. I mean, David Montgomery didn't have a huge game, but Cordell Patterson did definitely tear us apart for a few huge holes he had there in the middle of that offensive line. But I think, again, that was just us being without Danny Shelton and Deshaun Hand, who were basically the centers of that defense.
I will say Kevin Strong did amazing after just being called up from the practice squad that last week, and then coming in and playing as good as he did and getting the stop.
Yeah, like, that huge stop on what was it, 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1?
4th and 1.
That was amazing that he got that stop.
Yeah, if we can keep him in there and play with Nick Williams, which Nick Williams hasn't been the best defensive tackle in the league, but he's been a good run stopper. He's a big boy, and that's why when we had Danny Shelton and Nick Williams in together on the line, those are 2 big boys. Have fun trying to run through them.
Exactly, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Those are 2 anchors on your defense, and it does kind of scare me for Aaron Jones coming up next week. Again, hopefully if we can get Flowers and, like I said, Everson Griffin and ROMEO OKAWRA have been playing amazingly this year. So if they can come back and be healthy for a little bit, we might actually make a little bit of a run. But that's the thing. Everyone keeps saying if we win out, we got to play Green Bay. Tampa Bay, I'm not really too afraid of, but I mean, obviously they have tons of weapons and their defense is pretty good too. But that's another big thing too. The Bears defense is one of the top ranked. I think they were 4th in overall defense, and the Lions put 34 points on them when 2 weeks prior against Carolina's defense, we couldn't even put a point on the board.
Got shut out.
Exactly.
0 points.
So,
and also, Stafford looked like prime Stafford.
Yes, we finally let him go out and sling the ball like he's supposed to. That's what Stafford's meant to do.
That's exactly what it is. Bevel got to game plan for how his quarterback needs to play. Ball slinging, throw it deep, let the wide receivers make plays, and just think, everyone, we didn't have Swift or Kenny Galladay, and we put up 34 points on the 4th overall defense.
Yeah, people have been talking this whole time. Look at how bad the offense is without Kenny Galladay. We need him, pay him, blah, blah, blah. Again, I love Kenny Galladay. He's an amazing wide receiver. He's going to continue to be an amazing wide receiver for years to come. He's only going to get better, but I just don't think that we should pay him max money to be injured and not play 16. He's never played a full 16-game season in his career, and I don't think you can pay any wide receiver that hasn't been healthy his whole career that top-tier money.
I mean, you can, but it has to be somebody that hasn't been injured as much as him.
I don't know, or it has, I mean, again, he's stepped up to that all-star level, but it has to be just like a superstar level to be able to sign like somebody you just absolutely can't live without. And as we saw, we can still put up points without Kenny Galladay, and Marvin Jones definitely, you can tell, has slowed down. He doesn't have that same speed that he used to, but he still can catch those contested balls. That's one thing he's known for, and he's still really good at that too. So, and then obviously, Cephas looked really good with that huge touchdown, and TJ Hawkinson is having an all-pro year, and I think he's still leading the Pro Bowl voting for our NFC tight ends. So
if Darrell Bevell can keep scheming the way he wants to scheme and for how he knows his offense can perform, and then once you bring Swift back that can go out there and be a runner and get 100 yards rushing game, that just makes our offense 1,000 times scarier.
Exactly.
Because
a run game on any team changes it up, because again, with Kerryon and AP, no defense is really scared for a big run. Obviously, AP might break out for a huge run, but they're not
maybe
really
10, 15 yards. It's not going.
Yeah, like he used to, where he'd break out for 70-yard rushes. But yeah, DeAndre Swift is a game changer because he also brings that speed and elusiveness, and the play action comes off of that. That's a big thing. Obviously, once that defense starts getting scared of the run game, you can actually use the play action pass, and the defense will actually bite on it. That's a huge thing. I'm honestly
That's
surprised.
what I was gonna bring up, and
Yeah.
that's what I was getting to, is with him being back, that defense is gonna be like, all right, Swift is in, he can make something happen, do a quick little play action, the defense bite. Obviously, we all know Stafford loves throwing it deep. The defense bites. You got maybe one corner and a safety, or even the safeties come up and bite. So then all you got to do is beat one wide receiver, or one cornerback. Stafford slings it deep, catch, touchdown, huge gain. Like, that's what Stafford loves. Stafford's a gunslinger. He loves throwing the ball downfield, and that is the offense that he needs to have, and that's why he hasn't had the success in his career, because he never had the play action.
Exactly.
If you give Stafford time and a deep ball, 90% of the time, it's going to be a great throw, and it's on the wide receiver or just the defensive back playing good.
So,
like, Stafford makes those throws, and Stafford looks elite when he does it.
Yes, and he's back to looking like his old self again. Even though his thumb, I don't think, is back at 100%. He is still wearing that wrap around his hand, but I think, again, he's still slinging it like he always has. Oh, one other thing, just a little side note. A lot of people said, or Darrell Bevell did say that he's been getting tons of calls and texts from people congratulating him on his first head coach win. And when he was asked about if Matt Patricia was one of those people, he was not. I think that just, again, goes to show how terrible of a person Matt Patricia is. I don't know him personally. I'm not going to try and tear his personality down. But again, just all these stories, all the way he treated his players, and now the way, even though he's gone, he hired Bevell. He brought him in. And even though Bevell's replacing him, we should still give him some type of congratulations.
Well, that's when he brought Bevell in. He said Bevell was one of the smartest minds he knew, and he wanted that guy to coach his offense.
I think Patricia is just upset that he couldn't get his team to perform like that and look as happy as they did out there.
Oh yeah, that team, I said it in our latest podcast that came out a week ago. The team just does not look like it wanted to play under Patricia. Mm-hmm. There was no energy. The team just looked like they were just out there because they had to where this week there was players jumping up and down on the sidelines, excited for each other. Adrian Peterson, when he ran in that touchdown, look what he did. He threw the ball on the ground and was screaming, and everyone was excited and happy, and the team just rallied together, and they never gave up, and they continued fighting, and they continued cheering each other on and being that energy that the team needed. Mm-hmm. And it is just this team looks completely different literally within a week from the Thanksgiving Day game to today.
I mean, it was 10 days.
To Sunday, yeah, but completely different team.
Yeah,
in my eyes, it was completely different.
And I know it sucks we lost the Thanksgiving Day game, obviously, but I think it was obviously better because I don't think giving Bevell 3 days to game plan for a game was not a good idea. So it was a smart idea to wait, because then again, if you waited till after Thanksgiving, we fired him, I think it was Saturday, so that still gave Bevell basically Sunday and an entire game week to game plan, talk to the team, get things ready, and set up how he wanted to do things. So honestly, that was probably the better move. It just sucked that we probably lost a possible game that we could have won in the process, but that's here nor there now. We will move on to our weekly Pistons NBA talk. And so training camp is underway. The Detroit Pistons have started training camp. Yesterday, this was the first day of training camp for them. We did talk about this a little bit in our last podcast that ended up getting corrupted, so we will reiterate a little bit the information that never got out anyways, and I'm sure has been talked about hundreds of times. But obviously, the Pistons did waive Zyree Smith, and the Pistons did sign DWAYNE SIRVYDIS. I probably butchered that, and I apologize. He is from Lithuania, and he was actually a draft pick from the 2019 draft that the Pistons selected in the second round. He's just, again, like I mentioned, been playing overseas for the last year and a half, 2 years, and so we finally actually signed him to the active roster. So he is, a shooting guard, small forward, correct? Yep. And then we also signed LIANGELO Ball, which I'm sure everyone's heard by now, and everyone's kind of gotten their own feelings. It's a non-guaranteed contract, so it's basically just hey, whatever, let's get all the Ball brothers in the NBA. I honestly don't know if he will make the active roster. I mean, we'll watch him in preseason. That's going to be coming up here soon. We'll be seeing how good he does if he actually gets some playing time. I'm assuming they'll give him some playing time in preseason.
Oh, yeah.
Regarding, again, we've talked about this before, but it's still just kind of up in the air. Things have kind of cleared up. We've talked to Coach Casey, not us specifically. The reporters have talked to Coach Casey. We've gotten a little bit out of him. We've gotten a little bit out of Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose, talking about the younger players. Killian Hayes, he looks like he's going to be really good, especially hearing from what we've heard. Dalton, I know you know a little bit more about him.
So as of right now, starting training camp and preseason, Killian Hayes is the starting point guard for the Detroit Pistons. Dwayne Casey said he is unlike any other rookie he's known. He came in ready to work and ready to prove that he can be the starting point guard, which obviously might accompany playing over in France, playing pro basketball for how many years over in France instead of going to college and college basketball and all that crap.
I said this back when we drafted him. I think players, again, I'm not saying he's going to be a Luka Doncic type player, but I just think players like that have played professionally overseas is different than playing in the NCAA. So it's kind of I wouldn't say easier, but I think going from college to the NBA is a different type of transition than playing professionally overseas to playing professionally in the NBA. It's a little bit of a smoother transition.
So in college, you're not playing the best of the best.
Exactly, yes. I do think that's going to give him a huge advantage. And same thing with BEVELL'S. Again, I'm sorry, I probably mispronounced that, but same thing. He's been playing professionally for about a year and a half, 2 years. So I think that's going to help him develop a lot easier. And it seems like we're just signing a lot of foreign players on our team with Sekou Doumbouya and Ski Mikhailuk as well. It seems like the Pistons are just creating a team of foreigners at this point. But hey, again, it's worked out with some other teams.
And obviously, as we've kind of talked about in past podcasts about like the whole who's going to be at what position and everything, Dwayne Casey did come out and say that basically every position are fighting for minutes. There's not really a set this person's going to get this many minutes, this person's getting, like, he hasn't set that yet.
I don't think anyone on our team is going to be averaging more than 28 to 30 minutes a game. It's going to be pretty... So normally, like, the superstars average around maybe 35 to 40 minutes a game sometimes, but...
The only person I see averaging that many is Blake Griffin, and that's just because of everything I've heard from Dwayne Casey talking and just Blake Griffin talking and how much work Blake Griffin put in this offseason to be able to actually stay healthy and be the Blake Griffin that we saw before he got injured, leading us to the playoffs.
Yeah, Dwayne Casey has been doing nothing but praising Blake all through the beginning of training camp so far. In all the interviews, he's just claiming how great he is and how, like, as he mentioned, how tough he's been working this offseason to get back to full, as Dwayne Casey says it, the Blake of old. So...
And obviously, Dwayne Casey did say that shooting guard is the #1 position that is up for grabs. Like, there's not a set starting shooting guard. There's whoever plays the best is going to start a shooting guard, which makes sense because we don't really have a shooting guard on the team. We have guard or shooting guard small forward-ish, like Ski Mikhailuk. I mean, Derrick Rose could even play a little shooting guard. I know we kind of did that last year with Reggie and Derrick Rose kind of out there together, like when Reggie was healthy.
And as we've talked about too, we mentioned on the last podcast, with the coronavirus coming in, it's probably good to have so many players that can split positions. So if certain player's out for whatever, an extended period of time or a couple games, you can swap someone to this position, then fill it in. So just having that versatility is probably good for just the season with injuries and the coronavirus too.
Oh yeah, and that's like, I'm so excited because so many people are doubting the Pistons and just saying like, oh, they're going to be a bottom of the tier team and they're going to lose. They're not even going to come close. And honestly, yes, the Wizards got Westbrook and everything, so they're going to be better. But I still see, like, there's 5 teams that I see 100% making the playoffs in the East. And then after that, it's kind of all up for grabs.
Yeah.
Like,
the East is nowhere near as loaded as the West is. It's like you said, there's maybe 4 guaranteed teams that are going to make the playoffs. And even then, barring injury, some of those, like, you got to think the Nets too. The Nets were a playoff team last year. They're probably going to be really good this year. But again, barring injury to 1 or 2 of those superstars, that whole team can collapse, especially since they traded a lot of their younger assets out to get those star guys in there.
I definitely could see the Pistons sneaking in if Dwayne Casey said all these guys that are coming in have just clean slates. Like, he doesn't care what happened on past teams. Like, doesn't care how their career's gone up until this point. He doesn't care. Everyone has a clean slate. Everyone's getting the same observation that he's giving. And how well you do in Detroit is how he assesses you and decides how many minutes you're going to play, how much of your playing time you're going to play, what groups go in. Like, that's how he's doing it. He doesn't care what you're about your past or anything like that. He's just assessing right now of what you're doing in training camp, what you're doing in preseason, how you're playing. And I think that's a really good thing because we have so many players that if we're bad this season, we're bad and we get another high draft pick and it's just another young piece to build for the future. Like, we have so many players that can just build off of, and if we're bad and we get a high draft pick, then cool. We're bad, we get a high draft pick, another great young player to come to our team. There's some studs coming in this next year's draft class, so like, I'd be fine with it. I
don't see us being a bottom of the barrel in the East. Like, again, with the East being as bad as it is.
Dwayne Casey has a way with players and a way to take a player that has shown potential but hasn't reached their potential to come to Detroit and reach that potential and be as good as they should be.
Perfect example, Christian Wood last year. Look at him. He went from being he was undrafted. Yeah, he went from being...
he was undrafted. But he played for the Pelicans and he showed that potential, but he never got the playing time or never got actually reached the potential to where he comes to Detroit and he's shown all season that he could get there. Well, then the Detroit Pistons go and trade Andre Drummond, and then Christian Wood is our starting center and he balls out and is amazing. and reaches that potential that he's supposed to make, and then gets a $40 million contract this offseason. Projecting that Sekou Naboya could be up for most improved player this year, because I think he's going to take that next step like Pascal Siakam did. And I think Sekou Naboya is going to be in the running for most improved player, and maybe even start at small forward or start over Blake Griffin at power forward just because of how good he's playing.
I don't know. Again, so much is just up in the air because we still have Jeremiah Grant, who, where is he going to play, small forward or power forward? So like you said, it's just having all these players that can split these positions. I think it's just another way to mix up combinations on the court so we don't always have. And like I said, that goes back to what we said earlier. I don't think anyone on this team is going to average maybe more than 25 to 30 minutes a game because, like I said, with so many different positions that we want to play. And I'm sure we want to try out the young guys. Obviously, we'll probably start with the vets getting a little bit more minutes in the beginning of the year and then, again, transition to more Killian Hayes, more Isaiah Stewart, more Sekou Naboya, but
I'm just very excited because of that. Like, yes, we could suck and get a high draft pick, and I'm not rooting for us to lose or anything, but I'm also fine with it because I know we are in a rebuild situation. But I also see this team being like an OKC team last year, having those good vet with a bunch of young players, just making a surprise, and like a Blake Griffin balling out and like being an all-star Blake Griffin with Sekou Naboya, players stepping up and playing a lot better than last year and stuff. And with Blake Griffin being Blake Griffin of the past, leading us to the playoffs by himself, I have high hopes for the Pistons this year. Obviously, as Detroit fans, we all know having high hopes for sports teams in the offseason leading into the season normally don't work out. But I got high hopes. I love Dwayne Casey. He's a great coach, and I think the roster we have right now is just perfect because we can have so many different lineups and so many different players at each position that can come in and score and play. Basically like a Miami Heat. Like, anybody on the floor can go out and drop 40 points. Are they going to every single night? No, they're not. It's going to be, oh, Derrick Rose drops 40 this game. Blake Griffin drops 40 this game. Jeremiah Grant could go out. Killian Hayes could go out and drop. Like, every single game, it can be a different player going out and dropping lots of points and just being the player of the game, instead of only having that one player that you know that player is dropping you 40 and you're hoping the rest of your team can play good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Training camp is going on right now. Preseason games are going to be coming up soon. We'll have a lot more to say once we actually get to see some of the players and how well they gel. And I do think it's going to take a little bit of time for them to gel. We do talk about how young they are, and that's the thing. Having some young guys and some vets, it's going to take probably at least, say, a couple of weeks before they kind of get to gel together. And I do think obviously training camp and preseason is going to help with that, but it's just going to take a couple weeks, in my opinion anyways. But we'll see. Maybe they come out and ball out and we get off to a huge start and win a bunch of games. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But, all right. I guess that's going to do it for us today. Thank everyone for tuning in. We always appreciate it. We'll see you again next time.